All right, we are live once again at the PowerUp Live Podcast Stage, presented by KeyBank Capital Markets. My name is Nico Johnson, and if it sounds like I've been podcasting for 2 days, well, it's because I've been podcasting for 2 days. I am joined on stage for our daily RoundUp show, something that started as kind of a joke in 2019 as a way to sort of wrap the day, knowing that we wouldn't have an audience. And my illustrious co-host Josh Porter has joined me for all of our daily roundups. This year's daily roundup is presented by Modern Energy. Modern invests development equity in early stage developers and provides operational services to accelerate growth. We're going to talk a lot more about what that actually means to folks in the marketplace and why you should care in a few moments. But first, I wanted to say aloha to Josh Porter, my illustrious co-host. Good to see you.
Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you. You know, it's funny you bring up those early days of the media zone, the PowerUp media zone. It was kind of a quieter affair. There's a lot more going on here today. So, you know, congratulations to the SunCast team for doing some amazing stuff, really.
And
that's pretty awesome.
Who'd you drag out of the audience?
Who did I drag out of the audience? Oh, this guy right here? I don't know this guy. Who are you?
I am here to raise the level of podcasting prowess, and I want it noted that you gentlemen use the past tense on joke. So you're telling yourself you stop being a joke. Okay. All right. Well,
Mike Casey of TigerCom. It's good to see you, man.
How many people recognize Mike Casey from TigerCom, Scaling Clean? All right. Mike actually has a legitimate podcast, which has birthed an illegitimate news show.
And Nico Johnson's still butthurt that we were ragging on the last episode. If you see the resentment, that's why you're getting it, because we were harsh on poor old Nico.
I don't mind. You guys are doing a great job. And truthfully, you should be tuning in. Renewable Energy World is partnered with TigerCom on producing a weekly show, John Engel and Mike, that sums up what's happening in clean tech. And I can tell you that it is truly, like, several people have tried to do this, and John and Mike have nailed it. So I got to give you credit, my friend.
Thank you, man.
You really did. Like, I've been texting him secretly, and this probably will surprise you. I've been texting Mike secretly, like, who did the countdown timer? What are you hosting this on? Like, he continues to be a mentor to me, and my hat's off to you, truthfully.
Thanks,
you're one of the industry storytellers. You're one of the folks that stand in the gap and tell the truth. And there are painfully few truth seekers and truth tellers in this space right now. So I love the work that you're doing.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
It's been, I want to sort of get a pulse on how everybody's been feeling walking around the show. I had someone describe, I'm going to take one sip. Gulp. I had someone describe the show floor quite eloquently. This year's show feels like if a casino and IKEA had a baby.
There you go.
Outstanding.
Right? Because casinos sort of feel like they're designed to distort and confuse. And IKEA wants you to get to the destination, but not before you've walked by every fucking thing else. So I've had fun having conversations with folks that are trying to find the PowerUp Live stage and navigating this, what has become like such a mega complex.
Yeah.
You know, like when we think back to, my first SPI was 2006 in San Jose, literally would fit in this lower floor, less than this lower floor. So it's amazing to see what our industry's gotten to, where it feels like CES or PAC, you know, one of these like 50, 100,000 plus things. And what's interesting to me is not that people are complaining about the chaos, it's that they just aren't used to big trade shows, right? And it's indicative that this is growing pains for us. How have you experienced it?
I mean, to be completely candid, I just made it to level 2 today for like a little bit. So, you know, I couldn't really, we did it purposefully because Jason was like, hey, you better go look at something, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've been doing speaking sessions on different things today. We had an amazing opportunity to talk about the Maui wildfires, about the grid, about the processes forward. So we were really digging into that whole world. And it really was amazing to do that with Doug McLeod, former Maui Energy Commissioner, and Jennifer Potter, former Public Utilities Commissioner. So that's kind of where my brain has been. But I did get a chance to peek at some of the wonderful kit out there, and it was just, I felt so good right away. I felt so stoked. I would walk past something and I got that like jazz right away.
Back
I
in
get
your
jazz
back
and I'm
in
like,
your zone.
yeah, I love it. So the booth stuff, we did get a chance to get up to Solar Edge. I knew I needed to. Jay's like, what do you got to see? And I'm like, I got to see the bidirectional V to H. You kidding me? Like that's like we made a beeline for the V to H, and then I'd already, I'd
Geek alert.
Yeah, we're gonna, Geek alert. You can just hook me whenever you're done hearing it. Unbelievable technology. I'll stop there. Click.
Senator Porter, that's the shortest filibuster I've ever heard from you in 2 years of podcast or roundtables. All right, quiz. How many people know how many people are here? Who knows? How many? 41,000 people.
Wow.
And Stephen
Hot off the
Miner,
press.
who runs this show, told me there are now only 4 cities in America that can take a show this big.
Oh, wow, you've outgrown all the
That's
other
amazing.
cities.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, it's just to be here with 41,000 of your best friends. It's like,
Well, one of the other reasons that we wanted to have you up, Mike, is that you're always talking to super important people. What have you learned today that might be informative and helpful for us?
we had on This Week in Clean Tech with John Engel, we had Mark Chediak of Bloomberg News, and he came on the show, and it's a 15-minute, 5 stories you need to know in 15 minutes, and we do the 5 stories, then we bring a reporter on who did one of the 5. And Mark Chediak came here because he's taken over the solar beat. He's the main guy for Bloomberg right now. And I said, what drew you to the show? And he said, I had to learn about this, so I had to come here. And I'll say, I think industries are not their trade shows, but the trade shows are a leading indicator of industry health. And he set aside the challenges with the organization of the floor and documentation, but it's really hard to get around the sense when you come here that this is an industry that is its own economic vector. Like it is actually a big thing. And Dan Sugar, one of our clients, he was doing an event on Monday where he opened up a line, the 15th, I think, or 16th line, steel production line. And he's going to take a line that employs 100 people right now and turn it into a 300-person line. And he said something interesting. He said, for the last 16 months, all these pundits are saying, we're going to go into a recession. So where's the recession? It hasn't happened yet. And part of why it hasn't happened are the people here, the companies here, because they're driving economic growth and an economic renewal, and it's this wonderful marriage of like private sector execution and really good policy. And how many times in our lives have we seen that? I don't know, once, twice? I mean, it's just amazing. So that's been my take.
Oh man,
that was perfect. I couldn't have scripted it better because also driving economic growth are those that are actually driving projects to completion in the marketplace and helping entrepreneurs get their projects out of their heads and out of their spreadsheets and into the field. One such company is Modern Energy, and I'd like to invite Christine Larson up. She's the head of operations for Modern. Christine, you're gonna take the seat by Mike. There you go. And while Christine puts her headset on and gets situated, Jigger was here today, and we were chatting about that we're all in the VPP industry now, not in the solar industry. And if you didn't know that, you'll hear Jigger say that about 7,500 times over X and LinkedIn in the next 2 days. A jiggerism is born. Yes. He has these Jigger produces Jigger sayings. Yeah, that's right. So he said this actually, Mike, and you'll love this. And I talked to his head of comms right after, and I said, was that practice, rehearsed, novel? And she goes, he's never said that before, which is great. So this is straight from the horse's mouth. He said, guys, you got to realize that we are not selling vitamins here. We're selling pain medicine. And that's ponder that. That's badass. Ponder that. Badass. And I say that on the heels of saying we are an industry in the throes of growing pains. But we're also no longer in competition or combat with the utilities, but we're trying to figure out what the birthing pains are going to produce between these two sectors that have to cooperate. Because what Modern is helping enable, what Onidian is helping enable, is an infrastructure that is altogether mind-boggling for the utility executive of 5 or 10 years ago. Absolutely. And it's challenging for the utility executive that's been coming to RE Plus for the last 3 or 4 years to figure out exactly what Bloomberg is figuring out, right? Yeah, and I'll tell you, I just
side note, I think we need to give a shout out to Jigger Shaw. I mean, that guy, first off, I told him one time, Jigger, you're the most successful person who has the thinnest membrane between your mind and your mouth. But like he always is coming up, he's like, the profundity that just comes out of this guy is amazing. And now, and I flew out here with him, and we were talking, and he said, I said, how's it going to run the loan guarantee program? And he said, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of built for this job. And he totally is. Like, if you're going to computer generate a guy to run the loan guarantee program, it's him. So I just want to give that a shout out. He's a friend of mine, but he's kicking butt for the sector.
It's true. Christine, how you doing?
Doing good. It was interesting. You were talking about growing pains, and to me, that spoke to all of our conversations today, right?
Yeah.
Our team talked to green hydrogen, wind, solar, nuclear, and the commonality across all of them is growing pains. And it's growing pains not just in the capital sector, and how do you find capital that is fit for early stage development in a sector that is built for VC, private equity, but doesn't really fit that early stage need, but also how do you build businesses, right? Every developer we talk to today doesn't just want money. They want to do something better, they want to do something faster, and they know that's the differentiator in the market. And for us, that's what we love, right?
Yeah.
That's why we built Modern Energy, to bring more and more development companies to market and help entrepreneurs build better businesses.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. The growing pains are the opportunity, right? And they're the exciting work.
Good view. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we shared yesterday with Ben, the partner in Modern, a little bit more about sort of the ethos of Modern. But I would love it if, for those who are unfamiliar, if you could enunciate the core message of really what Modern exists to do, because we'll talk a little bit about why that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So we like to say Modern Energy partners with early stage energy asset developers with capital, capabilities, and culture. And what that means is we're not just capital, although we are, and we're capital that's particularly well suited for early stage developers, but we also bring a huge capabilities team to make you get to market faster and better, because we know that's what matters, right? It isn't just taking assets to market, it's doing it in a way that is more successful and that not only moves the energy transition forward, but moves your business forward faster. That's what drives financial returns and impact.
Christine, I have a question for you. This sounds a lot like a much fuller incubation of portfolio companies. Like you're not just going, here's your check, here's your CEO, see you in a year. You're actually more fully incubating. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we discuss it as, it's a true partnership, right? It's thought partnership, and we stand side by side with you. And the great thing about Modern, and Ben and Nico talked about this yesterday, is we come from a background of building development companies. Yeah. Modern was built off of 2 development companies that started up, and all the learnings that we had from doing that and all the commonalities that we see between energy asset development companies, and how can we go do that repeated over and over again and learn and help other entrepreneurs go more quickly. And so yeah, you're right, it is nice. It is every day. You'll hear from Industrial Sun later how frequently we talk to them and how closely we all work together, because it's a true partnership.
Do you see what you're doing as part of a trend in the investment community to more fully incubate portfolio companies? I've heard it talked about. You're the first person I've met who's actually doing it.
I'd like to say it's not a trend, because I'd like to be asked to be differentiated doing it, but I think it's the way it has to go, right?
Yeah.
The reality is that energy development is hard. It's hard, and it takes a lot of hard work and figuring out how to adjust to the changing marketplace, adjust to changing regulatory environments. That takes expertise. It's a high risk business. Early stage entrepreneurship in any industry is high risk, and in energy development, where there's huge amounts of capital at stake, even more so. So we find that only by bringing all minds to the table and experts in everything that they do can you be as successful as you possibly can be. We've seen great success in it. I'd like to believe nobody else is going to come do it also, but we see that as a trend.
All right. Well, why don't we talk with Wade and get a sense of the other side of the coin. Wade Gungle is the CEO of Industrial Sun. Do you want to stay? You can stick around if you like.
About it.
Yeah.
Round table.
Here we go. I think Wade's on 3.
Check, check.
There we go.
All right.
Nice. Little round table. Wade, good to see you.
Hey, great to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Industrial Sun is, it's what's interesting is I didn't realize until I asked you the following question how perfectly named the company was. But can you explain why you call your company Industrial Sun?
We are very literal. At Industrial Sun, we are a utility scale solar company that delivers a solar solution specifically to heavy industrial end users.
Yeah.
And by heavy industrials, I'm talking about the petrochemical segment, manufacturing, oil and gas, and the like, really heavy loads. And we're focused exclusively on the ERCOT marketplace with what we're doing.
It's good that you're literal, and I just a tip: when you're talking to them, speak slowly so they can understand you. They're a little bit slow.
Slow in the
They're
uptake?
good. They're wonderful guys. They're
Okay,
slow.
10-4, got it.
Actually, right when you introduced yourself, I said, "Oh, you're in the CNI space." You're, no, I'm in the utility space.
That's right. That's right.
So,
It's utility scale projects. You know, our average project is probably 100 megawatts. And, you know, to Christine's earlier points, I think we are kind of the example of the modern energy ethos in action. You know, we're up to 15 folks.
Yeah.
Staffed an elite level development organization. We've got 30+ thousand acres of site control, 3.5 gigawatt pipeline, and you know it's.
And we're less than 2 years from company launch.
That's right. We closed our funding round in November of 21.
Wow.
So
Nice.
it's been a rocket ship.
So how much of that do you owe to Christine?
You know, a good amount. A good amount. No, she's
Oh,
great. She's
awkward
great.
moment here.
No, not at all.
Okay,
No.
All right.
No,
All right.
what she said was accurate. You know, I couldn't vouch for this team enough. They really are, their approach as a capital partner is as a collaborative thought partner. You know, they really do collaborate with you. And it's not an onerous kind of circumstance. So it's been phenomenal.
And to, you know, we talked about this with Ben yesterday, do a lot of the heavy lifting that you not only may not be gifted at, but frankly don't want to have the time for.
That's right.
Which is like the templated stuff that can be applied to portfolio companies at a higher level sort of back office.
Totally.
Right?
You think
it allows you
about-
to be more efficient.
Think about, you know, accounting, marketing, HR, payroll, all of that
It's
was
like,
handled, you know, at day one. And so that allows, you know, us to focus on running the business and just really, you know, take off very quickly. And we have. It's been exciting.
Yeah, and you talked about, I mean, we were noting, we went from 2 people to 12 people at Industrial Sun in 6 months, right? And that takes recruiting your team and retaining your team. And you guys have amazing retention.
Yep.
It's one of the most important things you can do in an early stage business and where you're trying to move quickly and you have a small team. And our team, you know, is experts in doing that and has a repeatable process so that every entrepreneur knows that hiring your team is one of the most important things you can do, but it's number 10 on the most important things you have to do that day. And so having a team that you can say, I know you know how to do this, and you're really side by side with me, unlike a recruiter partner, but you are my talent team that's going to go out there and get me the best people and get me the people that are going to stay.
Yeah, it's a massive efficiency.
when you said the points that you actually help with, I felt it viscerally because those are the things that I remember being like, I'm never going to get to that.
Right.
I am terrible at that.
Yep.
I mean, I just felt like, oh my goodness, it must be so wonderful.
It's a lot. It's a lot, you know, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize how much of a time suck and resource drain all of that back office stuff can be. And so to have a partner that does that for you is,
wow.
Yeah, we like to say nobody starts a company because they want to run payroll late at night. Right.
Unless
You
you're
start a
payroll.
company because you want to talk to landowners.
That's right.
And
There you go.
talk to
Yes,
customers.
absolutely.
And sell a unique solution.
absolutely.
So Wade, you guys are, I had some misconceptions about not only the market you serve, but the types of projects you're developing. What drew mine and many others' attention to the way that you're leaning out into your marketplace was the announcement of the Earthos deal, right?
Sure.
So you're clearly comfortable with new technology.
For sure.
And you're leaning into a niche that is novel. Not a lot of folks are doing it.
Right.
So how do you think about the way that you're integrating not just solar, but hydrogen and heavy industrials into a solar portfolio? And then I want you to explain kind of how you see a show like this giving you a little more insider leverage.
Yeah, no, great question, or questions. First, with respect to the Earthos deal, I think our friends are somewhere over there.
They're just over here.
Okay, there. And that's an example of a novel application of an existing technology, and it allows us, as a developer that focuses on areas that are often site constrained.
Yeah.
As you imagine, we're serving industrials. A lot of times, you're just in very heavily congested areas full of infrastructure, right? And so maximizing the generation you get from a limited amount of space is important.
Yeah.
And that's, that's just kind of a tool in the toolbox that we can use. More broadly about this conference, I joke, this is, I think, my 7th time here at a, RE Plus / SPI. And this, I call it the Catalina wine mixer of our industry.
Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah,
Nice.
and it's certainly living up to the billing. I mean, I've never seen such an amazing environment. I mean, it's massive to see.
Yeah.
The attendance, the interest, and it's just a very exciting time.
Do you come in looking for like one or two things, or do you have just meetings as wide as you can go?
Sure. Well, we have our whole, subject matter expert team here. So, they're having meetings with vendors, suppliers, and, personally, I'm visiting with, banks and investors as we're putting together our first portfolio of assets that we're going to be bringing to market in Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
And a nice little hat tip to our friends at KeyBank. We've retained them to, support us in that asset sales process. So
What serendipity?
yes, exactly. Yes, no doubt. So
Well, it's really insightful and helpful to see from the perspective of folks that aren't necessarily developing and sort of building equipment or buying equipment directly in many cases, from the perspective of modern, how the project development side of the business thinks about walking a show that's this massive. So I appreciate that insight. And I really am grateful for Modern Energy partnering with us on the daily roundup. We've got one more segment before we bring the roundup to a close.
All right.
So we'll bid adieu to you guys. Thank you so much.
thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great to see you,
Great
bud.
Stuff, super impressive.
So while I was mistaken about the industrial sun folks being focused on C&I, the next folks are absolutely focused on helping the C&I market. Why don't you guys come on up? Mark Liffman from Omnidian, the CEO of Omnidian, and Lisa Yops, the Director of Client Success at Omnidian, are going to join us to talk a bit about how they're experiencing the show. Mark is by no means new to RE Plus.
I am. My first RE Plus was 2004, and in a little ballroom in San Francisco with 30 booths.
Oh my goodness.
So we've grown a lot since then, and it's super exciting to hear you say that we are moving the economy.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that's keeping us out of recession is Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and clean energy.
Yeah.
We have a booming economy for 3 things, and we're one, and we're in good company.
That's great. Yeah.
2004 SPI makes him an original clean techer. We can call him an OC.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so. Lisa, how many RE Plus have you attended?
I've been coming since 2012.
Wow!
Dallas.
Look at Omnidian team rolling deep with industry OGs. That's great. Mark, for those who are unfamiliar, could you give us a sense of how Omnidian has evolved over the last year? And we had a great conversation with you guys last year, and you were talking about how Omnidian is serving and empowering the residential sector with our friends from Bodie. Could you give us a sense of the last year?
Yeah, so we've really expanded. We're doubling in size every year right now, and serving. We're at gigawatt scale, keeping track of and maintaining those assets and ensuring the performance of those assets across both residential and commercial.
Yeah.
And we've seen just a vast growth in the industry, and really a change in the industry, even year to year. If I think back a few SPIs. People were like, develop, and we'll go figure out what happens post PTO later.
That's right.
And then, a few years ago, they're like, we need some O&M.
Right.
And then, now they're realizing.
No moving parts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now they're realizing we don't need O&M. We needed an integrated third-party partner who is integrating with us pre-PTO, ensuring that system gets built correctly, and then works for the next 20 years, and works both performs and works safely. And that's been the thing that's driven our business across both residential and commercial, is to make sure we're integrated with those partners, and we're helping that system work for that next 20, 25, 30 years.
We think a lot about C&I and the commercial space in Hawaii in terms of like the hotels and that kind of environment. I wonder what some of the biggest concerns are when they're trying to go solar in the C&I space.
Yeah, Lisa will talk a little bit about this. The number one concern on C&I is safety. Absolutely number one. It dwarfs anything else. So we need to put safe systems on rooftops, and we need to ensure that they stay safe. So that is the absolute number one concern. After that, it's performance. It's paying. Am I going to get what I paid for out of this asset? I paid for kilowatt hours to come out. Are those kilowatt hours going to come out, or is this going to be just this thing that hangs out on my rooftop?
Yeah, you used a term that I haven't heard until obviously you introduced it to the industry, but post-PTO. Most people are racing to get to PTO, and then they sort of leave and let the customer deal with what happens after. Lisa, you're dealing directly with these clients. What could you tell me about this post-PTO experience and how it's evolving?
Yeah, absolutely. The post-PTO experience, as Mark described, one of the leading factors there is, as soon as you completed the system, you've now got it on your roof, or ground, wherever it is, and you've been told it's supposed to produce. Now we come in, and we guarantee that produces.
Yeah.
We provide reporting on that it's continuing to produce. We provide all of the services around supporting that production. And one of the things we're seeing driving both our clients and the industry around that is coalescing around that concept of safety. And how do we ensure that? And QA/QC is an interesting role there because it's about building transparency. So it's not about a punch list. It's not punitive. It's about building a relationship around the transparency and the visibility behind that.
Yeah. One of the things we don't see a whole lot of on the show floor yet is conversation around O&M, right? You were saying how we're in this post-PTO experience already, and so I just think out loud, like, when will we see the O&M section the way we started to see batteries? There's like 6 stalls for batteries, and now it's a whole quadrant of the show.
Well, I mean, I think one thing I noticed about the show is it has spilled out beyond the show floor.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a fantastic show floor here, and the show extends like all the way down to the Cosmo, which is about a half mile away.
Yeah.
But for regular people, that is 17 miles in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
But this show has really expanded through. Every restaurant and bar here is taken up with meeting spaces and receptions. But that goes all the way down the strip. So this is a show that we're seeing some of that O&M discussion. But one day, we're going to have the big booth, and we will anchor the what we call the performance assurance section.
I love it. Well, when that day comes, we'll be here talking about it on the Daily Roundup, that's for sure. Mark Liffman and Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on Daily Roundup. It's been a pleasure, as always, to hear how you guys are experiencing the show. Any last? I don't know if you had anything to say. Step in there on there, Casey.
No, I'm struck by the afterthought quality that the sector has given to operations.
Yeah.
And it's not appropriate. It's kind of like energy efficiency. It's not an afterthought. It's actually like really essential. It's so cool to hear what you're doing.
Yeah.
And man, my gosh, is it needed. So anyway, hats off to what you're doing.
We got to keep those customers happy and safe.
Yeah. Well,
great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm wondering if you guys have already your tally sheet for what you're going to check off tomorrow. A lot of folks would say, oh, Thursday, I'm going home. But yet, there's still at least a half a day on the show floor. Don't go home. There are loads of vendors that will be ready to offload their swag, if not their ideas. And there is much less traffic for you to talk to them. What do you guys got on your checklist for tomorrow?
I'm going to check out energy storage in greater detail. We're seeing that coming out of our customers. They're bringing energy storage to us. They're starting to think about asset management from an O&M standpoint for storage as well as solar, much like, we got into a lot of things in 2011, 12.
Yeah.
Later, we thought about how we need to maintain those assets. So it's great to see these conversations moving up the chain towards that idea of O&M sooner. So talking about O&M for batteries tomorrow.
And gratefully, you've got a whole section dedicated to it.
Nico, you weren't supposed to ask me that question.
I know.
I am sneaking out tomorrow morning. I was supposed to stay for the day. because my wife got Beyonce tickets. So I have to go
You're
home
contributing to the economy markets. Okay.
in time to take care of the kids so she can go to Beyonce.
Fantastic.
He's doing his duty to the American economy.
That's right.
Let's respect
That's right.
what he's doing. I
Yes.
think it's important.
You know, in at least 2 areas.
Absolutely.
Mike, you sticking around?
I am until 1:15.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
That's fair. You got.
How about yourself there, buddy?
We've got the morning show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be co-hosting with.
Where's my invite?
It'll be broadcast live up on the Jumbotron and at suncast.live. Lauren Glickman from Encore Renewables will be co-hosting with me as my co-host Lisa Ann Pinkerton also has a 6 a.m. flight and is bouncing out. So sorry, Lisa. Lauren is gonna bring the heat. We've got a special announcement tomorrow actually that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts. So anyone who that captures your attention, you should definitely tune in to the morning show to see what that might be. But I promise that it's at least a sensitive subject and certainly a tearjerker for some. Porter?
Yeah. We got some plans for tomorrow. We're going to take it easy and just kind of do a little Jay and Josh show down at, in our booth area. But I'll tell you this, I heard someone say that it was 41,000. That was you, right, Mike? 41,000 attendees. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, I've covered CES for a handful of years, and that was when I would talk to the different hoteliers, they would say, this is the largest thing that happens in Vegas. Yeah. And I thought, we're not far off of that. Every year, it's the largest thing that happens in Vegas. What if, a couple years down the road, this is the largest thing that happens in Vegas? That struck me. It's possible.
Piece of context. Our Uber driver last night, going to a reception, he gives tours. He's a professional tour guide. How many conventions do you think this city hosts a year? If you had to guess. Josh. Nico, what do you guess?
Slightest idea.
600.
25,000.
What?
Oh, wow.
How's that?
25,000. And he claimed that produces a visitor total of 6 million people.
6 million.
6 million
That's
people.
amazing. That's 68 concurrent events a day.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's pretty crazy.
Now, just to be fair, my cab driver on the way over told me that to light up the sphere, it takes 15 terawatts.
Oh my God.
He used the word terawatt? That's pretty great.
He did use the word terawatt. Now, considering the entire electrical capacity of the United States is 1 terawatt, they're a little bit more. I'm not sure it was accurate.
Mark's up here giving shade on my Uber driver. He's more
Your Uber driver is probably better than my cab driver.
He can't defend himself. Mark, this is a drive-by.
As they digress and devolve, we're going to bring the Daily Roundup to a close. I'm so grateful for everyone who joined us here live at the podcast stage. Thanks to KeyBank Capital Markets. Thanks to Modern Energy for helping bring this wonderful content to you guys and bring smiles to my face and all of those out in the crowd.
All right.
We'll see you
Thank you, guys.
Hey, let's give a shout out to these two guys for doing the hard work of this podcast, right?
All right.
Some good stuff you guys do. Love it.